There are people who live for success, and there are people who can't live without it.
You wanted a revolution? You got it!
Time to play the game.
Some fight their way to the top, keeping to the straight and narrow path, and then there are those who learn how the game really works.
Time to play the game.
I've done everything it takes to get to the top.
He's obsessed with winning.
It's about me getting what I want out of this business. This is about me.
I am the game!
Really got cancer in the dressing room.
They've reached out with their foot and trip him and then dump his books on the floor. Bullying.
In wrestling, the winner is not the strongest, but the one who decides the winner. And that is Triple H.
Hunter was always a dick.
Done everything within his means to hold young, promising talent down.
It's so difficult for family business. Damn, that's difficult.
I didn't get in this business to be rich. I didn't get in it for any other reason. I just want to be great. Work-life balance is a lie.
Like everyone else, Triple H has a dark side. Many who have worked with him bluntly call him a suck-up, a bully, a turncoat. Stories of manipulation, of ruined careers.
Very serendipitous in his romantic entanglements.
And I found a love letter from Stephanie. And I used to think, like, man, he's so disrespectful.
My bazooka is locked, cocked, and ready to unload!
It was a 25-year plan. Worked out fine.
Triple H never just wanted to win. He wanted something bigger than any title. Power. Because the real battles aren't fought in the ring, but behind closed doors. As ruthless as Triple H was in the ring, he was just as ruthless in the creative meetings, but in a subtle, insidious, and devious way. And the higher he climbed, the more blurry the lines became. Between loyalty and betrayal, between success and control. Today, Triple H is considered the most powerful man in wrestling. But the path to the top is darker than many realize. The research for this video was endless. Over 100 hours of interview footage featuring Paul Levesque himself, his friends, and his enemies. All of this took us to places that are rarely discussed.
I think Triple H is a phony. He's a bad person. Bad things happen to bad people. He stabs people in the back.
You don't punch girls and you don't ruin their entire career and their life.
Shane was very much against it, vehemently so.
There was a lot of animosity for real.
I beat them all! Every single night!
Obviously, my real name's Paul Levesque, but nobody in the business called me that until only a few years ago. A lot of guys also called me Hunter. A lot of guys called me Triple H.
Since July 2022, Triple H has reigned as the leader of WWE's creative direction. He weaves the web of victories and defeats. He decides over titles, storylines, and careers with a snap of his fingers. The initial hype has fizzled out. Everything runs like a well-oiled machine. Predictable, smooth, but soulless. Fans are frustrated by storylines that feel like math problems, seemingly lacking that creative spark of inspiration. Triple H calls these fan voices an irrelevant minority, haters who are never satisfied anyway. The Netflix series Unreal presents a highly polished image of the WWE backstage area. In reality, the creative team is in turmoil. Most recently, Road Dogg was so frustrated that he left. One reason is said to be Paul Levesque's unilateral decisions, acting on his own authority when it comes to major decisions, such as John Cena's heel turn. Hunter is said to be very convinced of his own opinion, much like his longtime mentor, Vince McMahon. But Vince often ran the shows from behind the scenes, the emperor in the background. Triple H does the opposite. He doesn't just want to make decisions, he wants to be seen. Grand show openings, interventions in storylines, his voice in the WWE intro, his name first in the credits. Triple H places a great deal of importance on his image. He likes to come across as laid back and easygoing, but he's extremely thin-skinned This became clear when WWE was promoting a video game. Media partners and parts of the gaming press received a secret memo regarding the portrayal of Triple H.
There was a memo going around saying that Triple H cannot, under any circumstances, be shown in promotional materials, commercials, screenshots, and gameplay in a vulnerable position or getting pinned.
It seems like a small detail, but this is precisely where a pattern emerges that runs through his entire career. Control over perception. Control over what others think of him.
You know, you want to spend your time and resources on certain things when you run a company, and I don't think that's really something that should be in the top 10 or 100.
Former WWE writer Brian Gewirtz describes Triple H in his book as extremely insecure. When a new show script was finished, Triple H is said to have skimmed through it. Gewirtz writes that Hunter fixed the writers with a cold stare and asked a question, "Am I f***ing going over?" If the answer was no, his mood shifted. Triple H allegedly ripped out the pages featuring his match right in front of the writers, threw the rest of the script on the floor, and left the room without a word. The next day, the script was often rewritten, and Triple H ended up winning after all. Once Gewirtz suggested that Triple H could lose to the Brooklyn Brawler, Hunter is said to have immediately stormed toward him and accused him of deliberately trying to make him look ridiculous. Wrestling is everything to Paul Levesque. Those close to him say he doesn't just love the business, he's obsessed with it. He has a reputation for living and breathing wrestling, though often in a joyless, controlling way. Even away from the cameras, he wanted to dictate how a wrestler should look and behave. Former wrestler Ivory recounts that Triple H instituted strict dress codes, suits, signaling professional demeanor and discipline. While most wrestlers tried to wind down when they punched out, Triple H seemed unable to do that. Former WWE star Mark Jindrak says traveling with Hunter was exhausting. In the car with colleagues, he would talk for hours about match psychology. His Evolution friends were interested in partying and women. He wanted to keep working. To some, that showed passion. To others, it seemed almost obsessive.
Work-life balance is a lie. Be in the moment.
It's a busy week.
He's a very busy man overseeing the creative.
Paul Levesque is a textbook workaholic, with a daily routine of endless meetings and hours of office work.
WWE never ends. It just goes on to the next day. WrestleMania ends. Your off season is a couple of minutes at best. You get handed a stack of papers, the script from Monday Night Raw. You get to do it all over again tomorrow. It's one of the hardest things about this business is the relentless nature of it. It just doesn't stop. On one hand, that can be a daunting task. On the other hand, thank God, it never ends.
Fans joke that Triple H wears the same swimming trunks he did 20 years ago because he has absolutely no time to buy a new pair. Paul Levesque loves his wife Stephanie McMahon and his 3 children. But like so many wrestlers, he often loved his work more. In 2013, he resolved to spend more time with his family and proudly talked about it in a documentary.
I'd get up in the morning, take my kids to school, train my first training session, which would be like about an hour, get done that, shower, and run upstairs as fast as I could because I was always late for some kind of meeting, work through that day, put the kids in bed, run downstairs where my trainer was already waiting for me to have my second workout of the day, train, have something to eat before I would get in bed by about 1 o'clock, up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. It's constant every day, and it's just a cycle.
He's got this furrowed brow and all that kind of stuff, and big, thick neck, and it's like, When he's around his children, I mean, he is a marshmallow.
I have 3 girls.
I'm beautiful.
On the rare days when Triple H is at home, he tries to squeeze in quick chats with his kids between appointments.
He's on the road with us today, but when I go home and get to see my family, he's going up to the office and doing a press conference and then doing media and then, he does stuff all the time.
Vince McMahon taught Triple H one lesson above all: work always comes first. Vince was notorious for his workaholic lifestyle. 3 hours of sleep a night was nothing out of the ordinary, and he expected the same dedication from Triple H. If you want to reach the top in WWE, you have to be willing to give up your life for it. That applied to the main eventers in the ring, but even more so for the people behind the scenes. Triple H learned quickly that Vince didn't reward him for living a healthy life, he rewarded him for keeping on going.
It's a huge responsibility, but you have to learn to have all of those coping skills, be able to handle all of that.
Many wondered, how does Triple H actually cope with this constant pressure? Most wrestlers numbed their inner struggles with alcohol, drugs, or women. But Triple H took a different path. He didn't lose himself in intoxication, he lost himself in functioning. His coping mechanism is control. Workaholics find their identity in work. It's where they find structure. And above all, work distracts from emotions. Triple H developed extreme discipline. He trained at night, worked to the limit, and followed strict meal plans with eerie precision.
In these past few weeks, I do 3 days of no carbs, so just protein and fat, healthy fat.
I don't think I've ever seen him eat real, normal food. It's always in a container.
Yeah,
it's always
it's very annoying. Stuff. He's super disciplined, and just always.
Food is just fuel, nothing more.
His intense drive to function also extended to his body, which for him was the only place in life where he had absolute control. In his matches, he was able to transcend physical limits in an almost superhuman way. He was used to it. Ignore the pain, keep going, and perform.
Triple H tearing his quad in that tag match was one of the most gruesome things I've ever seen, because it became detached and it rolled up his leg.
My body going, enough, dude.
And he finished the damn match.
If I could go back in time, I probably would not suplex Triple H on a pallet that had a jagged shard of wood.
Seeing a piece of wood sticking out of my leg and thinking like, oh, geez, that's not good. When I pulled it out, Jesus, that thing went in there really far.
But eventually, Hunter's body began to rebel against this lifestyle. His friend Kevin Nash later said that the extreme strain of his relentless discipline ultimately led to heart problems. What initially appeared to be severe pneumonia was actually massive heart failure. Triple H was coughing up blood. He could barely breathe. Doctors diagnosed him with dilated cardiomyopathy, a life-threatening condition in which the heart no longer pumps properly, and yet he kept going at first, just like he always did, until his body stopped him. The main artery was severely narrowed. Suddenly, the man who wanted nothing but control for decades faced something he couldn't control.
If they tell you you're going to die on Tuesday, no one is going to go, well, shit, I have a board meeting on Friday, right?
For decades, he had treated his body like a machine. Now his own heart was forcing him to stop. His career in the ring was over.
So I have a defibrillator in my chest, which clearly is why I'm not wrestling. I rode it till the wheels fell off.
Paul Levesque's heart problems raised uncomfortable questions. The media repeatedly discussed the role steroids might have played. For many in Triple H's generation of wrestlers and bodybuilders, performance-enhancing drugs was simply part of the deal. The frightening downside has long been known. Common long-term effects include heart problems, enlarged organs, and severe strain on the cardiovascular system. Whenever interviewers brought up steroid abuse, he seemed nervous and evasive. In a 2004 ESPN radio interview in particular, he reacted uneasy and denied the allegations. Critics still accuse him of lying about it to this day. For Triple H, wrestling was never just a performance. It was a cult of the body. He treated WrestleMania like his personal Mr. Olympia moment. Colleagues describe him as extremely irritable when in a calorie deficit. Months of dieting, 500 grams of protein a day, constant control over every detail of his physique. Stephanie says he never eats candy or snacks, It is said that for a long time, it was very important to him that no one in WWE looked more muscular than he did, had better measurements, or appeared more physically imposing. When Chris Masters visibly lost muscle mass after coming off steroids, Triple H made jokes about it. Former ring announcer Ricardo Rodriguez reports that Triple H regularly called him fat, accompanied by comments that allegedly had a racist undertone. Triple H expected an iron will, physical discipline, and toughness. When CM Punk repeatedly complained about medical care, Levesque is said to have called him a weakling. Perhaps that is precisely where the tragedy lies. Triple H was merciless with others because he was first merciless with himself. Today, it almost seems as if he's ashamed of the very body he spent decades trying to perfect. He still trains hard every day because he can't help himself. It's his addiction.
I started bodybuilding when I was 14.
Young Paul was a wrestling fan and wanted to look like the stars on TV. Every day, he went to the gym right after school and spent the rest of the evening there. At just 19 years old, he won the title Teenage Mr. New Hampshire. He became a successful businessman at an early age. Responsibility seemed to draw him in. He first worked at Gold's Gym in Nashua and later took over the gym himself. His work ethic, professionalism, and his knack for navigating hierarchies, all of this repeatedly landed him in leadership roles. But this ambition came at a price. He cut ties with friends who didn't take training seriously enough, just like his longtime girlfriend who was already thinking about marriage. Triple H wanted to focus on training and wrestling.
Just on a constant quest. There was none of his spare time was ever wasted.
On his way to the top, Triple H didn't always stick strictly to the truth. Early in his career, he stood out as a con artist.
I worked on a resume that was just a sheet of lies about how great I was and how long I'd been working and all that stuff.
Veteran Paul Roma took him under his wing and taught him the ropes of wrestling, helping and supporting him as he entered the business. Instead of gratitude, as Roma describes it, Triple H eventually started speaking ill of him. For critics, this also fits a pattern that runs through many stories of his career. As long as someone was useful, Triple H maintained an appearance of loyalty, but as soon as he rose above them, old companions were dropped, no longer important to him.
When I came to WWE, Vince made me a Greenwich, Connecticut blue blood snob.
Throw this tray of diamond rings in two. Put them on my account and have them wrapped. I'll send somebody by later to pick them up.
There's a new meaning of perfect, and it's Triple H. Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
In the mid-90s, Triple H performed his new finishing move for the first time, the pedigree. His opponent, Marty Garner, thought it was a suplex and landed almost vertically on his head and neck. The scene remains disturbing to this day. Garner suffered severe neck injuries, later sued the WWE, and the case was settled out of court. For Triple H, it was the first major low point of his career. The locker rooms of the 90s were no ordinary workplace, but a shark tank. Behind the scenes, things were often more brutal than in the ring. Young wrestlers in particular were under constant scrutiny. Veterans decided who belonged and who would be broken. Many of the powerful veteran wrestlers didn't respect Triple H at first. Some mocked him, some even tested and bullied him. But Triple H is extremely socially intelligent. He quickly realized with whom he needed to align himself to protect himself. Little by little, he integrated himself into the clique.
He said, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't do anything. And we were like, designated driver, this is perfect.
Former colleagues like Scott Steiner say Triple H groveled his way into the clique. By carrying the bags of established stars, Hunter made himself useful. While Shawn Michaels spiraled deeper and deeper into drugs and chaos, Triple H was the one who brought him safely back to the hotel at night. The clique wasn't primarily his circle of friends, but his shield against bullying. In a wrestling world without unions or other protective measures, groups like the clique functioned like an internal power cartel. If you had a problem with one member of the clique, you suddenly had a problem with everyone, especially with Shawn Michaels, the boss's favorite. They influenced Vince McMahon and increasingly controlled creative decisions. That's how the clique got a say in who got pushed and who should lose. In wrestling, the good guys finish last. Within the clique, Triple H evolved from the bullied to the bully. Newcomers were intimidated. Their belongings were stolen or thrown away. Particularly disturbing are stories about dressing room misdemeanors. We can't go into detail, but several former wrestlers report that the clique harassed and groped newcomers. They are said to have secretly placed feces in their victims' pockets, including, according to reports, in Sable's pocket on her last day with the company. Sunny too is said to have been a victim of such actions. It sounds like a childish prank, but in reality, it was a show of power. The message was clear. We can do whatever we want to you, and no one will stop us. Anyone who dared to criticize the clique became the next victim. Wrestlers like Bam Bam Bigelow, Shane Douglas, and Savio Vega refused to submit to them. According to reports, the clique then sabotaged them. Savio Vega says the clique bullied him out. The legendary Yokozuna allegedly overheard a conversation in which Triple H discussed what damaging rumors they could spread about Savio Vega, how they could badmouth him to Vince McMahon to cost him his job.
They were poison, and when they were all together, they were like a gang. They were going to take over.
They were the insufferable clique group. They either shit in people's fucking lunch boxes or they buried them behind their back to Vince.
But some stories went even further. Particularly disturbing are the reports surrounding Chris Candido. Shawn Michaels is said to have had an affair with Candido's longtime girlfriend, Sunny. Triple H allegedly kept watch to make sure Candido didn't find out and deliberately distracted him. Friends of Candido say that this breach of trust plunged him into a deep depression. The clique took whatever they wanted. Former wrestlers describe an atmosphere of collective intimidation. For the clique, power didn't mean responsibility, but rather the ability to control and break other people. This was exactly the world that shaped Triple H. The clique only looked out for themselves. A car accident on tour demonstrated this. Wrestlers reportedly ended up in a ditch with their car. Triple H allegedly just drove past, without stopping to check on his colleagues, which for many veterans was unforgivable. In the wild west of the locker room, there was a sheriff, The Undertaker. Today, WWE portrays a close bond between Triple H and The Undertaker. But the truth is more complicated. While the clique dominated ruthlessly, there was another, more laid-back group centered around The Undertaker, Rikishi, and Yokozuna, the Bone Street Crew. There was deep contempt between the two groups. Triple H mocked the BSK as old-fashioned marks, men who took wrestling too seriously. The Undertaker saw the clique as disrespectful egomaniacs. Tensions escalated. During a tour of Germany, a drunken altercation between the two camps spiraled out of control. The Undertaker stepped in. According to reports, he literally grabbed men by the throat and threw them apart. It's hard to verify whether the story is exaggerated.
I don't care what's going on in your life. It does not give you a right to mistreat people.
You want a goddamn zoo here?
And to demean people.
On May 19th, 1996, something happened that changed the world of wrestling. It was Scott Hall and Kevin Nash's final WWF appearance. At the end, the clique stood in the ring, dropped their good and bad personas, and embraced each other. The so-called curtain call destroyed one of wrestling's most sacred traditions, kayfabe, the illusion that everything is real. Executives and colleagues like The Undertaker were furious.
It was just bullshit. They took a shit, whether you like Vince McMahon or not. Madison Square Garden was his building at the time. It was his father's building. He viewed that as his house. And they went out and took a shit on the business in Vince's dining room, right on his table.
Got up to Vince's office and they were mortified. It was against everything they ever stood up for in the business.
Triple H later claimed he had to bear the consequences for it alone. Vince McMahon is even said to have threatened to fire him.
And the famous Vince quote, "You're going to have to learn to eat like the taste of it. You're going to have to learn to eat plates and plates and plates."
The punishment was that he had to lose more and was given less prominent roles. Jim Cornette later estimated that this phase cost Triple H around $250,000, but he accepted the punishment without complaining, and that impressed Vince McMahon. Hunter proved that he was willing to suffer and remain loyal nonetheless.
There was no storyline purpose to it. It didn't sell any tickets, didn't do anything for business, did something for their egos. He was told to go around to all the boys and apologize, and he should have. He wasn't genuine when he was apologizing. He just did it because he was told to, and it was political, and he really knew that he was doing something to revolutionize the business.
For many old school wrestlers, Triple H is one of the people who destroyed part of the magic of wrestling. He was never a fan of upholding kayfabe and never had any issues talking publicly about heels, faces, shoots, or works, terms that used to be used only behind closed doors. And now it almost seems as if he's not just lifting the curtain a little, but tearing it down completely. Especially through projects like the Netflix series Unreal, which lets fans peek deeper behind the scenes than ever before. That's also one of the points of conflict between Triple H and Bret Hart. In the 90s, Bret was one of the biggest wrestling stars, considered the best technician, and anathema to the clique. He viewed it with suspicion that Triple H and Shawn Michaels were gaining more and more creative influence. Shawn demanded that Hunter be present at the meetings. In fact, it was highly unusual for Triple H, then a mid-carder, to be sitting in the executive suite. Bam Bam Bigelow calls him a brown-noser. But the truth is also that Hunter made himself indispensable to Vince because he worked harder than the others. He wasn't a party wrestler, but a true professional. He wanted to know how the cameras were operated, how ticketing was handled, and how storylines were written. When Triple H was on the creative team, he knew what he was talking about. He always spoke intelligently and always had good ideas at the ready.
Those guys had pull, so they would bear you to Vince. It was just politics, right?
Shawn and Triple H were assisting Vince with the booking. They had their own agenda. All they were doing was making things for themselves.
In the mid-90s, the clique's crosshairs fixed more and more on Bret Hart. He was one of the highest paid wrestlers in the company. Shawn Michaels and Triple H are said to have been jealous. Bret Hart remains convinced that both used their growing power behind the scenes to systematically undermine his status. This became particularly clear during a show in England. Although Bret Hart and The Undertaker were the biggest stars on the British market at the time, they barely appeared on official promotional posters. This is said to have been based on a suggestion by Triple H.
They were setting the stage to tear me down and to destroy me. They wanted to do it as slowly and evilly as possible.
Behind the scenes, things went even further. Hunter was determined to defeat Bret Hart. Vince McMahon initially agreed, but Bret argued against it. 2 weeks later, he was scheduled to face Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. A loss on Raw would have weakened the entire storyline. In the end, Vince agreed with Bret.
And you could just see Triple H just about, like, he just turned white. Like, it was like he didn't get to beat me. He had already mapped it out in his head that he was going to pin me and destroy me right there in Germany because he had the clout, which tells you what kind of a piece of shit he was.
Even Bret Hart's closest friends got caught up in these power struggles. At the one-night-only event, the British Bulldog was supposed to triumph in his home country in front of his seriously ill sister, but at the insistence of the clique, Vince changed the match outcome at the last minute.
Triple H was such a slimeball back in 1997. A guy I had very little respect for and never really rated him.
All these tensions then escalated into the so-called Montreal Screwjob. Bret Hart wanted to keep his title, but lost it anyway, due to a treacherous betrayal. The referee ended the match without Bret's consent. The title changed to Shawn Michaels, orchestrated by Vince McMahon and Triple H. After the match, Bret's wife Julie confronted Hunter directly.
So you guys all have a meeting this afternoon and decide the whole thing? Don't give me that shit. Because you guys knew it.
Swear to God.
You knew it from the very beginning. All of you.
I swear to God, I knew nothing.
Yeah, well, swear to God all you want.
I had nothing to do. I didn't know anything.
You had just as much to do with it as the rest of them.
But, you know, you see Triple H sort of hiding away and cowering from my ex-wife and sort of denying that he had any involvement. There you go. That's your integrity. That's your piece of right there.
Just remember someday, Hunter, what goes around comes around.
It later came out that Hunter was lying about his involvement. He was actually the one who first suggested the idea. The main reason why Vince even considered it as a solution
was not the way to treat a guy that worked 14 years for WWE and gave the best matches of his career. And who was Triple H to do that to me and my career? The driving force of the screw job was all Triple H.
According to reports, Triple H said the following in the meeting beforehand: "If he won't do business, we'll do business for him."
I wish he'd been in the dressing room when I knocked Vince out. Triple H would have had the exact same ride.
To this day, the relationship between Bret Hart and Triple H remains deeply strained. Even decades later, Bret is said to have been ignored by Triple H at WWE events. Reports suggest he was denied backstage access or proper treatment. Again and again, he lashes out fiercely at his old enemy.
I just never ever thought he was any good.
Bret's like, well, this guy that I was better than ended up a lot richer than me because of who he married and the opportunities he got.
Everything he's done, everything he's created, it's all stuff that he wrote out for himself. Like, I'm going to be this. I wish I could have sat back in 1992 and said, well, this is what I'm going to do for the next 10 years. I'm going to win every title and I'm going to be champion 55 times.
Triple H has always been good at picking the winning side, the side that ultimately gave him more influence. While Shawn Michaels was unreliable due to drug use, Triple H became increasingly important to Vince McMahon. He played the rebel of D-Generation X, but at the same time was the only one in the room who was already wearing a suit under his leather outfit. DX was a huge success. Loud, vulgar. Together, they repeatedly pushed the boundaries of what was considered good taste, of what was even allowed to be broadcast on television. Today, the Attitude Era is often romanticized. Looking back, some things don't seem rebellious, just plain disturbing. The DX vs. Nation of Domination feud featured some scenes best forgotten. Scenes that regularly appear on lists of the most racist WWE moments. Triple H mocked wrestler Mark Henry with monkey gestures, playing on racist stereotypes deeply rooted in the history of black humiliation. Back then, many viewers laughed at it. Triple H appeared as the Croc, a caricature of The Rock, with a tanned face, an afro wig, and exaggerated facial expressions. Some spontaneous boundary-crossing actions were not even cleared with Vince in advance.
But there's one piece of artillery I'm not gonna use. I'm gonna save that for your old lady. And it's the big bazooka!
There were numerous letters of complaint from TV stations. DX read them out loud on the show, making fun of the outrage. On TV, they played the anti-heroes, but backstage, a culture of fear still prevailed. The bullying continued. They excluded unwanted wrestlers, banned them from the locker room, vandalized their belongings, and damaged rental cars. Tensions also arose within DX itself. As Triple H began to position himself more and more as a solo wrestler, some of his companions felt left behind. Road Dogg describes a man who tells you to your face that you're doing a great job and then badmouths you to Vince McMahon seconds later. Allegedly, it went from, hey, you guys are doing great, to they just sit around in the back smoking. Road Dogg says Triple H insulted his family in front of the entire team.
I'm a redneck, man. Don't talk about my family. And that's the time I almost broke his nose. I said, I'll break your big nose all over your face. And I ain't scared to do it. And X-Pac got in between us.
Triple H felt that DX was holding him back. He finally wanted to become a big star on his own.
I'm gonna tell you how I feel, whether you like it or not.
I felt that this was me saying that this entire industry should be mine, because it was me. and because everything about me was invested in being that.
Every time I look at you guys, it makes me sick. I am the game, JR.
Hunter's biggest enemy at the time was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
There was a rivalry there more in depth than most people know about. Vince came to me. He said, we're going to have you drop the title to the new kid, 𝗖𝗛𝗣𝗣𝗬𝗥𝗚𝗚𝗧, tonight. I was pissed. That's where more of, I think, a lot of the heat came, is because what comes out of that is important for each's career.
Longtime WWE producer Bruce Pritchard describes the professional rivalry between the two as brutal.
You can sense when there's a touch of animosity and there's a touch of, I'm the big dog. No, maybe I'm the big dog.
They both got tremendous bodies. They both have a tremendous look. They both have a tremendous work ethic, and they both are incredibly smart. And they both wanted to be that guy at the exact same time.
Rock had a feeling that he was the top guy, and Hunter felt that that was a title that he'd like to own.
Shawn and Hunter did everything they could to sabotage The Rock's rise, spreading false rumors and stirring up sentiment against him.
I can remember Triple H on a flight to Dubai talking about, Dwayne, can you believe this guy? He thinks he's a superstar.
And Rock, that taste in your mouth, it's decent.
They probably were offended that he was supposed to be the brand new project and the prodigy and etc., because that was a danger to their spots, and also they might be expected to actually put him over.
According to Bruce Pritchard, Triple H employed ruthless tactics. While The Rock was still strictly sticking to the written promos back then, Triple H suddenly went off script. His goal was to verbally humiliate Dwayne with insults meant to hit him personally. In the ring, the two worked together brilliantly. The audience could sense that they couldn't stand each other. Their feud was so magical because it was based on real hatred.
Well, I really think he's a very self-centered person. This is a friendless business.
Several associates report that the Kliq tried to bully the young Dwayne Johnson out of the company. Wrestler Mark Henry later spoke about how they mixed human excrement into Rock's lunchbox. Shawn Michaels intentionally delivered a stiff super kick to Rock's jaw. When The Rock confronted him about it backstage, Michaels just gave him the cold shoulder. If he couldn't handle that, he had no place in the wrestling business. Mark Henry confirmed just how toxic the atmosphere was back then. The Rock is said to have seriously considered leaving wrestling altogether.
Shawn Michaels and Triple H, hanging out by the lockers, would hear The Rock with his book bag slung over his shoulders, walking, and they'd reach out with their foot and trip him and then dump his books on the floor and, chew up crackers and blow cracker crumbs on him. Bullying.
Why do you do that? Because he wants to sit on top alone.
Triple H and his friends had been doing all this for years. Anyone who didn't suit them was tested, humiliated, and systematically worn down. But The Rock didn't let it get him down. In the end, he emerged from the feud as the big top star, not Triple H.
He was not the top money-drawing guy that was so over and was selling all that merch, but he filled a valuable role in that he was the guy that worked with the guy that drew the money.
Hunter's envy of The Rock lasted for decades. One reason is Rock's Hollywood success. Triple H tried his hand at acting multiple times, but the big breakthrough never happened. His appearance in Pacific Blue came across as more bizarre than menacing. In Blade Trinity, he remained a pale presence despite his muscle mass. And films like The Chaperone or Inside Out flopped. To many, Triple H wasn't an actor, but simply the wrestler in the movie. Outside the wrestling bubble, the rules of power were different. Here he couldn't organize a push backstage, and he didn't have a Kliq backing him up. One night, Triple H had a fateful encounter.
We came back from a show one night and we walked in the hotel. We were checking in the hotel and there's this jacked up chick in the lobby.
Triple H and Chyna, a match of extremes. Training partners turned lovers. But soon, their passion turned into something terrible. Chyna was the first powerhouse woman who could hold her own against male stars, the ninth wonder of the world. a pioneer of a women's revolution, stronger than most men. But in her relationship with Triple H, she was anything but an equal.
Triple H always spoke for China. You never went to China with anything. You always had to go through Triple H.
Triple H controlled China. He was considered extremely protective and jealous. According to reports, he wanted to know exactly who China was talking to, who she was out with, and how she was perceived in public. They lived together in a luxurious home in New Hampshire and seemed happy. But behind closed doors, the relationship became toxic. They had different plans for the future. Triple H wanted children, China did not. China's drug issues probably started here. Their relationship was on the brink of collapse. Meanwhile, Hunter was getting closer to Stephanie McMahon.
If you're asking if I would ever date a wrestler, certainly I would. However, it wouldn't be good business for me to get romantically involved with anyone in any aspect of our business.
When the two started a storyline romance, sparks began to fly.
Who are you married?
Stephanie McMahon.
Oh, wow.
You guys have the wedding on TV, and I come out and go, oh, sorry to break this up, but we're already married.
His line is, and Vince, it's not a question of if, but how many times.
Consummate the marriage!
My God, I cannot believe that.
Our moms noticed first.
We knew there was more to that than just them having a script together on TV.
So what's the deal with you and Triple H? She said, oh, Mom, we're just great friends. It's not what I'm saying when I'm looking at just the chemistry that the two of you have, on screen.
Not only was Triple H taken, but so was Stephanie. She was dating a guy from college.
I did not know Hunter well prior to the Vegas wedding angle.
I'd met Steph, but hello.
We would have production meetings before the show, and he would come in. And I used to think, man, he's so disrespectful, because he would come in his jeans and leather jacket, and he'd lay himself all out across the chairs, and he'd be chewing gum and chomping gum and making jokes, and, very much who he is. But I kept thinking it was so disrespectful to my dad. This was like a business environment. But the whole time I was thinking that I would absolutely blush. The second he would walk into a room, I would feel my face blush.
The two hit it off. Stephanie fell in love with Triple H because he was very confident and charming, because he reminded her of her father, a total workhorse. The two got along very well. Stephanie was strong, confident, articulate, and attractive. And she was already taking on backstage responsibility in her 20s. Triple H, on the other hand, also wanted responsibility. His dream was to help run the show, or even run it himself.
He was flirtatious with me. I walked Triple H out in the entranceway, and he kissed me. That was the first time he had ever actually kissed me on the lips, and it kind of took me back, because I knew it was in character, but was it really in character? I kind of had the butterfly moment.
Triple H flirted unusually, live on TV. As he lay on the arena floor next to the ring, he caressed her legs. China became less and less interesting to him. Sometimes he would simply leave her alone in the arena so he could travel to the next city with Stephanie undisturbed.
Hunter would go and have a meeting with the boss, with Vince and Stephanie and the crew there. I would wait in a little concrete room for him to come and get me, and then we would leave. And finally, security comes, and they're like, there's nobody in the building. Hunter had taken the jet and left without me. I checked his voicemail, and I knew his code for his voicemail, and I heard voice messages from Stephanie McMahon. And I was like, this guy just left me in the building and took off with the corporate jet to the next town and just left me there.
Triple H always gave Steph his hotel room number over the phone. A little later, she would knock, usually in the middle of the night, so that fellow wrestlers wouldn't notice.
Take him a long time to get into your pants to
So
get to that
when we
first
finally did get together,
Was it good?
it was great.
He bangs you very good.
Oh yeah,
Hard.
when I like it hard.
Yeah, sometimes soft.
Right.
You like it hard and soft?
I like the variation.
In early 2001, the rumors grew louder. Colleagues saw them holding hands. Big Show caught them making out at the mall, and Steph defended Triple H in backstage meetings so passionately at times that those present, like producer Bruce Pritchard, realized the two are a couple. Then the situation escalated. Chyna found a love letter from Stephanie in Hunter's private bag. The date on the letter was over a year old.
She was just destroyed when she found out that Hunter was quote-unquote cheating on her, because she's crying unconsolably.
So we got into a heated argument. We were not getting along. I told him, I know something's going on. Don't tell me something's not going on. He swiped my hand. I swiped his hand. He hit me. I just couldn't believe that he hit me.
Triple H denied these allegations of violence. We don't know exactly what happened, but the atmosphere behind the scenes was explosive. Vince noticed the toxic atmosphere and forbade his daughter from continuing the relationship.
You're talking about in real life.
Yeah.
Your father said you can be together and then said stop being together, and you stopped.
Yep.
Wow.
Triple H and Stephanie felt like Romeo and Juliet, but despite the relationship ban, they couldn't keep their hands off each other. Chyna confronted Vince McMahon about the situation. Terry Runnels, a former manager and friend of Chyna's, recounts the story.
And she said to me, he's been f***ing Stephanie. I told Vince I was going to f***ing kill her. And she goes, that's why I don't have a job anymore.
Vince McMahon reportedly assured Chyna in person that she could stay. Then she received her termination notice via fax. No conversation, no emotional farewell, just a document. It broke Chyna's heart even more when Triple H and Stephanie had a lavish wedding. Kevin Nash says it was a massive, profuse party at one of the most expensive hotels. The Clique friends partied hard and were so drunk that they missed their flight the next day. But all the romantic drama damaged Hunter's reputation. Many colleagues viewed his behavior with skepticism.
A lot of people were coming to me, hey Vince, you keep your eye on him, I don't trust him.
And the only reason he married the boss's daughter is because he became Vince's hit guy.
While Triple H and Stephanie McMahon continued to rise toward the company's center of power, Chyna broke down emotionally. In interviews, she later spoke openly about how much the breakup destroyed her mentally. Depression, loneliness, addiction. She couldn't get over the heartbreak. Years later, she was still constantly talking about Hunter. When she hinted on the Howard Stern show that she had anal sex with him, Hunter is said to have been furious. He feared that public embarrassment could damage his standing and position of power. To many, it seemed as though WWE was erasing Chyna from history. For years, she barely appeared in retrospectives. Critics see Triple H's hand in this. Chyna describes him as manipulative.
I was in a really vulnerable situation, and they knew it. And they know how to work people. They spent years doing it. They know all the tricks and how to destroy people's lives.
Chyna's career went unrecognized. Her big dream was to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Triple H blocked that. He argued publicly that his children might come across Chyna's adult films during a Google search. To many fans, this sounded hypocritical. After all, at the same time, WWE honored many male stars with far more serious scandals and transgressions. The impression arose that Chyna was not only to be forgotten, but punished.
And it mentally broke me.
Chyna's story didn't get a Hollywood ending. Just the silence of a Los Angeles apartment, a lifeless body surrounded by alcohol, medication, and unresolved pain. She was found dead in 2016, an overdose of alcohol, benzodiazepines, and painkillers. Former wrestling writer Vince Russo claims that WWE completely ruined Chyna's life. He accuses Triple H of taking everything from Chyna, her relationship, her job, and her career. A deeper look at Chyna's life reveals the true extent of the tragedy. Her past had long been a shattered foundation, an unstable childhood, a vulnerable psyche, emotional dependency, and insecure attachment. This is not a remote diagnosis, but the patterns fit extremely well with known models from psychological research. The brain treats a serious breakup the same as the loss of a loved one. 23% slip into depressive states after a breakup. Most recover within about 3 months. But a few, less than 10%, get stuck. Psychology calls this complicated grief. A grief that doesn't go away, that envelops one's entire life. This happens particularly often in cases of betrayal, when the person involved has been cheated on, and in breakups involving public humiliation. That's what makes 𝗖𝗛's case so extraordinarily tragic. 𝗖𝗛 didn't just lose a partner, she simultaneously lost her role, her sense of belonging, and her self-image. Breakups like these can trigger trauma-like reactions, even leading to post-traumatic stress disorder. For 𝗖𝗛, it wasn't just a broken heart, it was a broken life that could never be put back together. While 𝗖𝗛's life derailed after her release, Triple H was doing swimmingly. In 2002, he gained more influence than ever before. WCW was dead. After the legendary Monday Night War, WWE had defeated its greatest rival. Suddenly, former WCW stars were flooding into the company, and Triple H did everything he could to make them feel unwelcome.
I was one of the guys steering the ship at the company that was neck and neck with him. Let's just say that I didn't think I was on his Christmas list at that point. He wanted to do nothing but destroy us for a period of time.
At a toy fair, Triple H insulted Goldberg right in front of Stephanie McMahon. Goldberg lost his temper. He says he physically attacked Triple H. Then in the ring, they had to work together.
I think we both wanted to kill each other. But it's business, man. It's business. It's like if you work with a guy that you don't like or don't respect, you still show him respect for the business standpoint, for the professionalism standpoint.
Goldberg describes an atmosphere of constant exclusion, as if people backstage were actively trying to make him fail.
I just felt out of place. I felt like everybody was trying to tear me down, you know?
They didn't want WCW guys coming to WWE because they felt we were inferior. So you could do 10 things right, but if you did one thing wrong, you were under the microscope. Triple H and I didn't get along. There was a lot of animosity for real.
According to several reports, Triple H launched a smear campaign against Jericho back then. These weren't public attacks, but political jabs behind closed doors. Triple H didn't go in guns blazing. He waited until he was alone with Vince on the private jet. Then he started. Jericho was an unscrupulous wrestler, someone who injured colleagues in the ring and didn't bring in any money. Jericho himself later confirmed that Triple H made his life backstage a living hell. Hunter was already known as a backstage bully back in the 90s, and now he was bullying the new guys from WCW.
And I remember Triple H, when I first got there, he said, if you ever need anything, give me a call. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I remember we were in San Jose, and I was trying to find directions to Stockton. I'll call Triple H. Yeah, you want to know how to get to Stockton? Yeah, buy a map. And I hear this laughter in the background of X-Pac and Road Dogg, so hangs up.
This is just one of many stories that illustrate Hunter's arrogant, high school bully mentality. For example, during a match with Jericho, Triple H stuffed a chocolate bar into his ring shorts. When it later fell onto Jericho's chest, he panicked, thinking Triple H had literally defecated on him. Humiliation as a tool of power. And one thing was crystal clear to Hunter. He wasn't going to lay down for anyone from WCW. Triple H apparently insisted on winning the famous last man standing match between them. Backstage, a running gag developed among the writers at the time.
And there was this writer, he's like, you got a match against Triple H for the Intercontinental title. And I was like, oh, wow. Who's winning? You are. Ah, just kidding. He's winning.
For many wrestlers, it eventually felt like an unwritten law. Triple H doesn't lose. One of the most explosive conflicts of that era arose with Scott Steiner. He was one of the big stars at WCW. Steiner embodied exactly what Triple H wouldn't tolerate: another alpha in the locker room. Shortly after Steiner's arrival, WWE management reportedly asked him to take a steroid test. Steiner didn't refuse outright. He simply set one condition. He would take the test immediately if Triple H took the same one at the same time. According to Steiner, the demand was dropped without comment. Steiner was physically struggling at the time. His mobility had greatly diminished. A cooperative opponent would have tried to conceal these weaknesses. But according to Steiner, the opposite happened. Absurd power poses, push-up contests, and bizarre bodybuilding duels. The goal was clear: to humiliate Steiner. It worked. Fans and critics tore the matches apart. Steiner's run was practically ruined before it had even really begun. He blamed Triple H for this in shoot interviews. It was a time full of conflict, and Triple H was becoming increasingly unpopular, even among his closest confidants. For years, Shawn and Hunter had been practically inseparable. Michaels was a mentor, an idol, and a big brother, until he hit rock bottom. Back injuries, painkillers, addiction. He showed up to important meetings completely drunk, staggering, stuttering, half-conscious. Professional collaboration was no longer possible. This upset Triple H, the consummate professional. He reacted with a clean break, cutting off all contact. For months, he didn't speak to his best friend. He no longer saw Shawn as an ally, but as a threat to his dreams and the company's success. Hunter made a decision: career over friendship. For nearly a year, there was radio silence between the two men, until Shawn Michaels picked up the phone and apologized. Through their emotional feud and their epic SummerSlam match, the two finally buried the hatchet. After his comeback, Michaels was often willing to lose. He wanted to show that he had changed. Triple H was the complete opposite. Many fans roll their eyes when they think back on the so-called Reign of Terror.
Business was ultra competitive, and I knew my fit was as a heel. So I wanted to be that sort of Darth Vader to their Luke Skywalker.
Triple H wanted to be the final boss. Monday Night Raw felt more and more like his show. Week after week, he opened the show with long monologues.
What stinks it up is Triple H sitting in a chair, cutting a promo for 9 hours with no charisma.
WWE lost a massive number of viewers during this time. Many felt the product was predictable, self-absorbed, and completely focused on one person. The old criticism started up again louder than ever. Triple H was systematically burying new stars to protect his own position. Rob Van Dam, for example, was perhaps the most popular wrestler in the entire company in 2002. But instead of riding that wave, RVD gradually lost his momentum, especially in the feud against Triple H.
Hunter was always pretty glaringly, obviously jealous of certain individuals. He was extremely envious of Van Dam's success. He was envious of Van Dam's personality. He was envious of the way that everyone gravitated towards Rob because they liked being around Rob. He was very positive.
According to reports, Triple H repeatedly made derogatory jokes about RVD and his drug use during production meetings. But what was decisive wasn't just the joke itself, but the way Hunter is said to have laughed afterward. According to witnesses, excessively loud, dominant, and ostentatious. Like he was trying to force the entire room to laugh along. RVD then confronted him directly. Hunter reportedly walked away without a word. In the ring, the balance of power was clear once again. Triple H tore him apart. It wasn't about crowning a new star. It was about the dominant Triple H and him solidifying his place at the top. After that, Rob Van Dam disappeared from the main event scene for years. Booker T suffered a similar fate. His feud with Triple H had racist undertones that were never resolved.
Somebody like you doesn't get to be a world champion. Wow. That's reserved for people like me. You're here to be an entertainer. You're here to make people like me laugh. Do a little dance for me, Book.
The word black was never overtly mentioned in this context, but it was clearly implied and understood as such. A privileged white champion told a black challenger that he wasn't worthy of becoming champion. Time and again, Triple H alluded to Booker T's criminal past, a robbery he'd committed in his youth. In hindsight, Bruce Pritchard views the segment very critically and reveals that it wasn't even in the script that way.
Do I think he should have said that? No, I thought it was bad. I don't think he should have said that. I don't think that was written for him.
Today we know Triple H intentionally loaded the story with racist undertones. He wanted to be a hated heel, Darth Vader, the final boss. But the good guys never got their payoff in the end. In a story involving racism, this is inexplicable. Normally, if a villain repeatedly crosses the line, he gets what is coming to him, the hero triumphs. But that's exactly what didn't happen. At WrestleMania 19, Triple H won. And worse still, after the pedigree, Booker T lay motionless on the mat, while Triple H waited 24 agonizing seconds before pinning him. Another show of power. There were definitely internal discussions about letting Booker win, but leadership, which already included Triple H, decided against it.
People look at Triple H being the guy that was born with the silver spoon in his mouth. But to keep that spoon, you gotta fight for it.
For many fans, the entire feud left a bitter aftertaste. Booker T was extremely popular at the time. A WrestleMania victory could have cemented his status as a big star. Instead, he lost a massive amount of momentum. For many, this was the most brutal moment of the entire reign of terror.
I can't go anywhere without people asking, man, yeah, WrestleMania 19, you should have won that.
After all that, yeah, you should have whipped my ass and beat me.
There is no longer any bad blood between the two, but their real conflicts in the 2000s are well documented. At SummerSlam 2007, they had another match. Once again, Triple H won in dominant fashion. Booker left the company shortly thereafter, frustrated. Legendary commentator Jim Ross said openly that Booker T had not been treated well backstage, that there was palpable tension against Triple H in the locker room. Many wrestlers felt that Booker T had been utterly destroyed, not just in the ring, but as a person too.
I beat them all! Not one time, not one match, every single night!
When Triple H publicly destroyed someone, he often claimed afterward that the idea hadn't come from him. Former colleagues say he liked to shift the blame onto writers or head of production, Kevin Dunn. Sometimes, though, his lies were exposed. Triple H used his power, but didn't want to be held openly responsible for the negative consequences. Maven also made similar accusations after his WWE career, saying that Triple H was the only one who actively blocked his push in the booking meetings. Hunter always disguised his judgment by claiming he wanted what was best for business. But that wasn't always the case. For example, he advocated for firing John Cena in his early days, saying he was too bland, nothing special. But Vince McMahon stood by Cena and made him the biggest wrestling star of his generation. Another old rival also fell back into his crosshairs. According to Jim Ross, Triple H supposedly badmouthed Chris Jericho backstage before Jericho's return in 2007. He claimed Jericho didn't have the physique or the looks to make it to the top. Stephanie McMahon was considered a major advocate for Jericho's return. Hunter reportedly didn't take kindly to that at all. In 2008, Triple H finally moved from Raw to SmackDown. Behind the scenes, the word was that he'd rather be the big fish in a small pond.
I am the greatest professional wrestler alive!
For the people that are angry about it, I'll give them a reason to be angry. I will give them reason to think like, well, cocky prick thinks he's something special. Yep. Yeah. You don't like it, huh? Too bad.
Even in simple displays of strength against the giant Great Khali, he reportedly insisted on looking like the superior man. Arm wrestling, stare downs, he meticulously controlled everything. Another example is Jeff Hardy. While Jeff got the loudest crowd reactions of the night, Triple H is said to have cast doubt on Hardy's reliability. Former WWE writer and actor Freddie Prinze Jr. later even claimed that Triple H had worked behind the scenes to prevent Jeff Hardy from winning a title. Triple H was said to have been very confrontational at the time, openly criticizing colleagues and belittling them with derogatory comments. His record also includes bizarre insults. He is said to have regularly mocked Lillian Garcia for her appearance, calling her horseface. At the same time, Triple H increasingly acted as a moral authority backstage. He criticized colleagues for playing Nintendo, small-time gambling, or not paying close enough attention to other matches. For him, wrestling had to be a 24/7 way of life. Behind the scenes, he sometimes presided over what was known as Wrestler's Court, an unofficial backstage tribunal where lighthearted judgment was passed on wrestlers for missteps. Usually the Undertaker was the judge, the respected moral enforcer. When Triple H appointed himself judge, the court rarely had anything to do with justice. Verdicts often resulted in the convicted having to foot massive bills, steak dinners, bar tabs for half the roster. It is said to have been a financial burden, especially for young wrestlers with small contracts. Jim Ross described Triple H as a sort of self-appointed overseer of the locker room, an active wrestler who acted like the boss. Triple H no longer saw himself as being on the same level as the rest of the guys. Ivory recounts that while many wrestlers stayed in cheap motels on tour, Triple H had rooms in the most expensive hotels. Paul Levesque has always had a penchant for luxury. He bought a massive estate in Weston, Connecticut, with fence, gates, and security systems. His garage houses luxury cars, a Rolls-Royce, a Lamborghini, and a Cadillac. He uses a private jet for international travel. Many wrestlers gossiped behind his back, saying he was out of touch. In 2009, reports circulated from wrestling journalists like Brian Alvarez, who described Triple H as the most unpopular person in the entire company. But at the same time, he also had loyal supporters, friends and allies like Randy Orton.
Triple H wanted me to be one of the guys, and that's where my career took off.
Some wrestlers felt that in WWE, it wasn't just performance that mattered, but above all, proximity to Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. According to wrestler Alberto Del Rio, Triple H had clear favorites. Other talents were automatically left out. Wrestler Stevie Richards also later described the backstage atmosphere as openly toxic. According to Richards, there were political favorites within WWE, wrestlers who could get away with things for which others would have been immediately punished or fired. Randy Orton bullied others, went on rampages, and trashed hotel rooms, all without consequences.
If somebody says to me, that guy's an asshole, yeah, but he's my asshole. Somebody can be difficult to work with. That's kind of the fun of it.
Critics say Triple H had an unfair system of favorites. Those who stayed in his good graces were portrayed favorably on the shows. More and more talents feared him.
I think he worked his way up to the top. A lot of guys that didn't know Triple H just coming in were kind of afraid of that. They didn't push too hard. Whatever was said for them to do, that they kind of went ahead and played the game like that.
Wrestler Trevor Murdoch describes the backstage atmosphere as surreal. According to him, Triple H constantly walked around with a trail of ass kisses behind him. People who agreed with him and flattered him, among them Mr. Kennedy. Paul London confirms this and compared it to a king and his entourage. The roster didn't function like a team, but like a royal court. Those close to Triple H were protected, everyone else had to watch their back. Scott Steiner later scoffed that some wrestlers, like Ric Flair, kept sucking up to Hunter to stay relevant in the program. But one young upstart refused to play along. CM Punk. He had no intention of kissing anyone's ass.
Hunter and I clashed because I was a main talent roster full-time the same time he was a main talent roster full-time, so there's that competition. And a lot of that generation was looking down at kids like me saying, oh, you're here to take my spot. Well, I'm not going to let you, or at least it's going to be a fight. Halfway through my career here, he becomes office, and now I'm like, you can't tell me anything.
Punk would never let me assist, and he would then sometimes attack me. There would be moments where we'd have a meeting and he'd come at me and I'd leave there thinking like, this little mother. Punk didn't trust me, and I didn't trust Punk.
Triple H was particularly suspicious of wrestlers who didn't fit his ideal. Independent wrestlers, rebels. Many believe today that the only reason Punk became a main eventer is because Paul Heyman supported him persistently.
Triple H.
Yes, a guy that is notoriously wanted to be fired for my entire 6 years here in the WWE.
We've got similarities. We don't smoke, we don't drink, we don't do drugs
anymore. How many times did you say, I just don't think he has what it takes, lying in bed with your wife? I have the balls to say things that nobody else has the balls to say.
CM Punk was the best on the mic in 2011. No one had humiliated Triple H like that before. He demystified him on live TV with an acrid sharpness that no one had dared to use before.
You gonna punch me in the face? Or do you gotta go ask your wife's permission first?
I would, but I know where that hand's been.
Hey everybody, the click's back! Which is kind of ironic because click is the noise the audience's remote control makes every time Kevin Nash pops up on their TV screen.
I know that when I was supposed to wrestle Punk, he just got under Triple H's skin so bad. Like, Paul just came up to me and just said, "You're not going to wrestle him. I got to beat this fucker."
And so it came to pass. CM Punk was outraged after the loss. Backstage, the hostility between the two was palpable. They didn't greet each other, barely spoke, and when they did, they talked past each other.
He's hard to get to know. He doesn't talk. I would hear from everybody that, oh my God, he's livid today. He's quitting. He's this, he's that. And I'd go to him and say, what's going on? And I'd get, nothing. He's fine, you know? And okay, it's tough.
Looking back, Punk describes the work atmosphere as toxic. It got to the point where even harmless WWE shoots turned into a farce. For a documentary, Punk was supposed to speak highly of Triple H on camera, to highlight his importance to the business. Punk played along. He said the right words. One of the greatest of all time. But his face froze up the whole time. Every answer sounded like a forced statement. The footage came across as so inauthentic that it couldn't be used in the end. In 2014, CM Punk had had enough of his superiors and left the company.
If I didn't take myself off the hamster wheel, nobody else was gonna, and they were gonna work me until I died.
Former wrestlers like Alberto Del Rio share his perspective.
He was not the only one about to lose his mind for working in that place. It's a snake pit. It was just like everybody's stressed, everybody is wishing you bad things, and everybody's under pressure.
Many colleagues could understand Punk's frustration. Friends like Kofi Kingston stood by him. But after Punk's departure, things really escalated. Punk revealed that his official termination papers, of all days, were delivered on his wedding day. He saw this as yet another sign of disrespect. Many fans immediately blamed Vince McMahon, but he denied it. To others, it bore the hallmarks of Triple H. After all, it wasn't the first time that firing seemed conspicuously personal. Wrestler Billy Gunn says he was fired after a conflict with Triple H on his birthday of all days. Gunn hinted that Hunter did it on purpose. No longer the loud bully of the 90s, but more subtle, more controlled. He dropped the leather jacket and donned a tailored suit, hiding his abuse of power under the cloak of management. Professional decisions, elegant methods, but the power play remained the same. But Triple H is a master of theatrics. In public, he paints a very different picture.
You want those leaders that bring everybody together and create that culture of where everybody is there to support each other. And as they all grow, the brand overall grows.
Recent WWE documentaries show hugs backstage, pats on the back, emotional conversations, one big wrestling family, and without a doubt, much has changed for the better. But as is so often the case in wrestling, reality and performance blur here as well. Billy Gunn warns against believing this polished public image. He calls it propaganda. This company, he says, is not a family, but a cold system that controls people and discards them when they have outlived their usefulness. But it wasn't Triple H who shaped this culture. It was above all Vince McMahon. The two worked together for nearly 3 decades. Vince saw more in Hunter than just an employee. He was his son-in-law, his confidant, his most loyal warrior. At some point it became clear to Vince, Paul will take over when I'm no longer here.
You know, over the years, Vince had been kind of talking to me about, he would always joke, when are you going to stop fooling around in the ring and come get a real job?
For Triple H, the offer was a dream come true. He looked up to Vince a lot.
For me to try to learn all the things that Vince knows, except Vince has 67 years that he spent learning them on a day-to-day basis, and I've got to play catch-up.
At times, Vince spoke more highly of Triple H than of almost anyone else.
He's one of the most wonderful things that ever happened to me. I know that he wants to be Vince McMahon.
For Shane McMahon, Vince's son, all of this was hard to bear. He saw himself as the heir apparent. He wanted his father's recognition and respect, but Vince always struggled to show Shane affection. His relationship with Triple H was closer than the one with his own son. We've covered this topic in depth in another documentary on the channel called The Pain of Shane and Vince. For years, insiders and platforms like Vice reported on a frosty power struggle between Shane and Hunter. Their animosity continues unresolved.
My relationship with Paul?
Yeah.
It makes my sister happy, and I'm very happy he does that.
Sounds evasive.
Not evasive.
The rift began early on, when Stephanie kept her relationship with Hunter a secret and lied to her brother.
The thing that didn't sit well with me is it was kept from me for a while. So that didn't feel good.
I would even lead and say, Steph, you need to find somebody, a real man, someone like Triple H.
And then my brother would say, not Triple H. And my dad would go, oh yeah, no, of course, not Triple H. But, a guy just like him.
To me, it made sense for Stephanie to date someone like Paul. Shane was very much against it, vehemently so.
Storylines 101, don't date the boss's daughter.
For Shane, the breach of trust was especially deep because he was friends with China. He could never fully forgive Triple H for how he treated China over the years. The family rift later turned into professional rivalry. In 2009, Shane unexpectedly left WWE. He realized that the path to the top of the company was blocked, not by Vince but by Triple H and Stephanie. But Shane never gave up entirely. In 2012, reports indicate that a secret meeting took place with Vince outside WWE headquarters. Shane allegedly proposed taking creative control of the shows. Triple H and Stephanie's reaction after finding out was allegedly one of panic. Shane was a direct threat to their position of power. Vince ultimately rejected Shane's proposal, but the damage had already been done. The McMahon family began to fall apart for good.
What the hell kind of family did I marry into? You guys have got to be the head of the most dysfunctional family on the planet.
Shane returned briefly as a wrestler, but in 2022, the conflict finally escalated. Creative differences and power struggles. Once again, Shane felt that Vince and Triple H had formed an alliance against him. Since then, Shane has barely appeared in the company. When Stephanie was inducted into the Hall of Fame, Shane was conspicuously absent from the ceremony, and Stephanie said something that caught the attention of many fans.
My brother Shane, and to his wife Marissa, no matter what has happened or what will happen in this life, I will always love all of you.
To many, that didn't sound like harmony, but rather like a distant declaration of love. The sibling bond between Shane and Steph will never end, but neither will the family rift. The fault lines run deep. Many associates say that it deeply hurts Shane that his father made the decision against him, that Vince believed Triple H was a better leader, better for business than Shane. Yet Shane had a good reputation. He was regarded internally as a creative entrepreneur. Many visionary ideas are attributed to him, like the massive expansion of WWE Online or their early social media strategy. The idea of staging matches in a more cinematic way, even the early concepts for NXT, were Shane's idea. In the end, Triple H took over the leadership of NXT.
You hold that for like 10, 15 seconds.
It was the perfect opportunity to reinvent his image, to wash away the stigma of being a ruthless talent killer. He proudly stood in photos alongside new champions. He portrayed himself as the father of modern wrestling, as the cool boss who's in tune with the times, in contrast to Vince McMahon.
You bastards. I said push the main roster. I said make it difficult for it. I didn't say make it impossible for us. Holy cow.
But even this new Triple H faced criticism. He used to bury individual wrestlers. Now, critics say he was trying to put entire promotions out of business. This was particularly evident with NXT UK. For many observers, it was a deliberate attempt to financially drain the booming British wrestling scene, poach talent, and neutralize competition early on. At the same time, former NXT talents also spoke out with serious allegations. Wrestler Ryan Nemeth, the brother of Dolph Ziggler, spoke publicly about a culture of intimidation at the Performance Center. Triple H is alleged to have racially insulted a Mexican wrestler. He is said to have humiliated talent for mistakes and put them under psychological pressure. Allegedly, he tolerated bullying by trainers, for example, in the case of Bill DeMott. DeMott was notorious for his brutal training methods, which often bordered on physical abuse. It wasn't until public pressure became too great that DeMott was forced to leave. But the greatest irony of NXT lay elsewhere. Many wrestlers who seemed like future megastars under Triple H later failed on the main roster. NXT functioned like its own bubble, a world for hardcore fans, with long matches and 5-star wrestling. But on the main roster, different rules applied. Many young talents suddenly seemed lost. They could wrestle a 20-minute clinic, but they couldn't recite artificial written monologues. They shone in small venues in front of a smart mark audience, but seemed small in huge arenas full of casual fans. That's why critics still say today, Triple H created less of a functioning development system and more of his own little perfect wrestling world, a world that made him look like the savior of the business. Of course, there are also others who praise Triple H for the talents who ultimately found success. Over the years, Triple H helped launch the careers of many younger stars, most notably Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. But his ego booking never completely disappeared. For example, it was very important to him to face Sting at WrestleMania 31. Sting actually wanted a match with The Undertaker, but Triple H is said to have pushed his way to the front of the line, all to set an example, as Scott Hall said.
I mean, I was talking to Triple H, and I said, bro, you hit him with the sledgehammer, then you shook his hand. And I said, to me, it was like, welcome to the show, and you're my bitch. And he went like this, yeah.
Road Dogg said that Triple H didn't want to lose to Sting. He wanted to look strong for upcoming matches, and he was still obsessed with the old WWE versus WCW rivalry. No wonder, since back then his position of power was also indirectly threatened. Competition is difficult for Hunter, because competition is the greatest threat to power. At no point was that more clear than with the founding of All Elite Wrestling. In interviews, Triple H repeatedly criticized talent from the competition. He took a shot at Will Ospreay after he turned down a WWE contract. Triple H criticized their poor work ethic, saying that many don't want to take the hard road and wouldn't be able to handle the WWE schedule. Ospreay saw this as public disparagement. Billy Gunn also received a spontaneous shoot for his work at AEW during the 2019 Hall of Fame.
Vince McMahon. And he will then fire you.
Ha! He can't fire me.
He will buy that pissant company just to fire you again.
Triple H tried to take away the spotlight from the competition. He wanted NXT to air at exactly the same time, but the result was a nightmare. Week after week, NXT lost the ratings war for nearly 2 years. Behind the scenes, the defeat is said to have weighed heavily. publicly, Triple H played it down.
Do we pay attention to AEW? Do I watch it on a week-to-week basis? No. Am I aware of what's happening there? To a degree. They beat our developmental system. Good for them, right?
Outwardly, Triple H often appears calm. He regularly claims to barely notice rumors or the competition. But Kevin Nash says that Hunter tries to observe and analyze everything. That Triple H is even a paying subscriber to his podcast and listens especially closely when people are taking shots at WWE. When Hunter was sidelined in 2021 due to heart problems, Vince took over the reins of NXT. He radically overhauled everything, fired Hunter's people, and transformed the dark black and gold NXT into the flashy NXT 2.0. Triple H is said to have been very frustrated by this. His father-in-law was dismantling his life's work. Rumor has it was another difficult time for the McMahons. Things are said to have been difficult between Hunter and Steph during this phase as well. Both held powerful positions in the family business. It wasn't a normal married life, but rather a relationship on which a billion-dollar company depended. Any marital crisis would have directly altered the balance of power within WWE. In 2022, the two were seen multiple times without their wedding rings. Rumors swirled about a possible separation and an alleged open relationship. Triple H denied the speculation. The McMahons have always been hard to figure out. Stephanie McMahon is a brilliant performer and actress, a truly warm-hearted woman, but one who has also learned to control her emotions perfectly for the cameras. So it's natural that suspicious fans continue to ask an uncomfortable question. How much of her affection for Paul is real and how much is an act? The smile, the sparkle in her eyes, the harmony in front of the cameras. How much of it is love and how much is corporate performance? Over the years, Triple H has been accused of multiple affairs.
Okay. Man, she's hot.
In wrestling, there are countless rumors. Many of them are false, many have never been proven, but some stories have persisted for years. For example, that Hunter had a thing with Christy Hemme. That wasn't just a minor rumor. Everyone backstage was supposedly talking about it. Wrestling journalist Wade Keller reported on tensions due to alleged flirtations. Hemme is said to have gotten close to Triple H, and Stephanie is said to have heard about it through the grapevine. Christy Hemme's dismissal came out of nowhere. She never wanted to speak publicly about the reason. Many suspected an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. Several former WWE stars consistently stated that Triple H systematically uses these NDAs. According to Ryback, wrestler Caitlyn is also said to have signed such a non-disclosure agreement. Allegedly, something happened that went well beyond a purely professional relationship. Ryback implies that Caitlyn had to leave the company almost immediately afterward. Rumors of an affair between Triple H and Caitlyn have been circulating. It is unclear how much of this is true, but Stephanie McMahon is also said to have been unfaithful. Former wrestler Rene Dupree claimed that Stephanie had an affair with an unnamed wrestler. Hunter is said to have responded not with public confrontation, but with damage control. Dupree claimed that Triple H even covered the legal fees for the wife of the wrestler in question after the marriage allegedly fell apart. Again, it is unclear whether this story is actually true. To the outside world, Triple H presents himself today as the architect of the women's revolution, but critics see this as two-faced. Because while WWE publicly celebrated itself as a progressive pioneer, it struck a deal with Saudi Arabia, a few shows for a lot of money. Due to local laws, women were not allowed to perform. Triple H tried to defend it with political platitudes, but at the first two Saudi events in 2018, no women were allowed to compete. Due to public pressure, they renegotiated. WWE ultimately received permission to show women's wrestling, but only if the women didn't show any skin. Many female wrestlers were bothered by something else in the official narrative. The women's revolution did not originate with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. The pressure had long come from below, from fans, From women like AJ Lee, who publicly demanded equal pay and more airtime long before WWE itself marketed the issue. Gail Kim said that WWE only jumped on the Revolution bandwagon after other wrestling promotions had proven that women's wrestling can be profitable. Wrestling has long been dominated by toxic masculinity. It was a world where women were little more than eye candy, a world where they had no say. Former wrestler Ivory recounts how Triple H belittled her during a backstage meeting.
Triple H kept saying, "Ivory, that's enough. You talk too much, you talk too much."
That was the established culture in wrestling. Women were allowed to be visible, but their voices were often stifled. Nevertheless, Triple H truly cares about the women's revolution. As a father of 3 daughters, he wants to fight for equality. But then stories keep coming to light that paint a different picture. WWE legend Mickie James revealed a scandal in 2021. After her dismissal, she received her personal belongings in a black trash bag. Negative headlines followed. Triple H publicly stated that he had taken immediate action and fired the person responsible. But then other former female wrestlers spoke out, Gail Kim, Maria Kanellis, and others. They all reported that the same thing had happened to them, that this practice had been going on for years. A black trash bag as the final gesture to show you are replaceable, disposable. Triple H is said to have known about this for a long time. He allegedly tolerated this culture. At the very least, he ignored it. Which raises the question, what else did Triple H know about and remain silent on? In January 2024, Janelle Grant's lawsuit against Vince McMahon shook the wrestling world. In the complaint, Grant describes systematic sexual abuse, humiliation, control, and manipulation within WWE's leadership. Violence, abuse of power, hush money, and a corporate culture that had learned, over decades, to look the other way. At a press conference, reporters asked if Levesque had read the complaint. His response drew criticism. Hunter said he hadn't read the allegations and was focusing on the positive, the financial success, the Netflix deal. It was a fantastic week for WWE. Following the scandal, Vince McMahon was forced to step down. It all looked like an orderly retreat. Daughter Stephanie and Nick Khan took over the business. Triple H became head of creative and inherited his father-in-law's empire as planned. But behind the scenes, the truth was different. Vince remained for months, out of sight. Triple H and his team wrote shows, and Vince wanted to approve them. Sometimes he rewrote segments last minute. Then came the big power shift. WWE and UFC merged. Together with the Endeavor Group, this became TKO. Disclosed text messages from Paul Levesque and WWE President Nick Khan offer unusually candid insights. Hunter writes one day before the TKO deal is finalized, D-Day tomorrow, expect the worst. The chat history reveals Hunter was afraid that Vince McMahon would seize power again. In other messages, he complains that TKO boss 𝗖𝗢𝗣𝗣𝗅𝗍 is too soft on Vince. He's letting him attend shows again, send notes, and exert influence. Levesque writes asking if and how he can somehow stop Vince. None of this sounds like a relaxed succession, nor does it sound like family. It sounds like a bitter power struggle. Particularly telling is a message from December 2023. Security personnel inform Levesque that Vince is flying to Cleveland for a TV taping. Levesque writes, "What's that about? Why is he there?" All of this stands in sharp contrast to what Hunter says on camera a few months later. At the 2024 Hall of Fame, he praises Vince as a genius, a visionary, a man to whom the company owes everything. For critics, the revelation of the chat messages is the ultimate proof of Triple H's insincerity. There is now radio silence between Vince and Hunter. In 2025, Levesque said coldly in an interview, "The relationship is complicated. Hunter was always loyal to Vince, but his loyalty ended when Vince was no longer best for business. Vince himself lived by the golden rule of what's best for business. It was Vince who taught Triple H this logic. Now it has become his own undoing." The same thing happened with Brock Lesnar. According to the plaintiff, he was involved in Vince's dark dealings. Triple H no longer wanted to showcase him. That hit Lesnar hard. He had hoped for more loyalty, but there had always been differences between Triple H and him.
Brock is inherently not a trusting person. It's just how he is. He doesn't like people.
Vince had already placed Lesnar and Hunter on different rosters back in 2002 to avoid further conflicts.
Have we had issues over the years? Because at a certain point in time, he was a talent, I was a talent. Talent all get along to some degree, and there's also a very real rivalry between all of them. They all want to be the best. Everybody wants to be the best and be in that spot. And so, yeah, I'm sure there is some level of mistrust.
In 2004, Brock Lesnar left WWE, even though he was being heavily promoted. Triple H called Lesnar's departure the dumbest move anyone had ever made. When Lesnar returned in 2012, he wanted to make very few appearances. That went against everything Hunter, the workhorse, believed in. Lesnar was the embodiment of special treatment. While other wrestlers wore themselves out traveling, Lesnar would show up, collect millions, and disappear back to his ranch. In their most recent collaboration, Lesnar and Hunter treated each other professionally, but Brock reportedly still holds a grudge against him for trying to oust his friend Vince. Lesnar is largely alone in this opinion, however. Toward the end of the Vince McMahon era, the atmosphere within the company is said to have become increasingly toxic. Insiders described Vince as a dark cloud that constantly hung over the company. His departure sparked a sense of relief backstage. Triple H may be highly controversial, but he is a significantly more popular leader. Under his leadership, the internal atmosphere has changed considerably. More calm predictability. Hunter's communication is clearer. Even after dangerous botches or injuries, Hunter is said to react very directly.
You see it. You see that he missed a dive. Get that wind up, baby. Yeah. Make sure you got it all when we need it.
No passive-aggressive riddles like in the old days under Vince. Instead, clear statements. Triple H enjoys his position of power. He has worked toward it his entire life. Vince McMahon and Triple H are, in the end, extremely similar. Personality psychology refers to them as power-oriented personalities, people whose entire way of thinking revolves around influence, control, and dominance. Studies suggest that precisely these personality types are often less prone to excessive alcohol or drug abuse, not necessarily for moral reasons, but because a loss of control would jeopardize their success. Triple H found his high, not in alcohol or drugs. His intoxication was with power.
It's all about the game, and how you play it. All about control, and if you can take it.
Hunter's always been one that was all about working at the top level, and he did it for a vast amount of time.
All my friends, my best friends in life, everything in my life stems in some way from WWE in some manner.
There are people who live for success, and there are people who can't live without it. Paul Levesque is both. A man who came from nothing and fought his way to the very top, who sacrificed friends, ruined careers, sold out loyalties when the price was right, and who, because of that, stands today exactly where he always dreamed he would, at the very top. But what is the cost of a life made up entirely of victories? China is dead. His heart has betrayed him. His father-in-law and brother-in-law are his enemies. Many former colleagues hate him. Triple H has won almost everything and lost almost everything. A man who lived and breathed wrestling, and in the process, forgot to live. Terrified of one day no longer being the most important person in the room. And perhaps that is exactly what is most disturbing about Triple H. Not the manipulation and bullying, but the fact that it all worked. The kid from the gym became the most powerful man in wrestling. Maybe Triple H is neither a hero nor a monster, but simply the embodiment of what this business does to people. Time to play the game, and no one played it better than Triple H.